Welcome back to the show. I am Kinsey Roberts.
I'm Lindsay Lucas. Together, we're the Venue Podcast. On today's episode, we are going to chat all about creating an incredible client portal for your couples and how it can be their calm in the chaos of this whole planning experience for them. And Kinsey, I'm super excited to hear like your all the tips that you have for this. I know you've been building this out for years and years and years now. I feel like you have it down to a science for sure. And it's more than just creating a portal in and of itself. It is about elevating the client experience, but also having elements of that portal backed contractually, actually.
It really is. And I'll tell you what, I have been building this for years. And the great thing about a client portal is that obviously the best time to create one for your clients was when you started, and the second best time is today.
Right.
And the other part of that that's great news is that the client portal, to me, in my mind, is a living thing. It can be updated whenever you want to. You
Mhm.
can take things away, you can add things, you can edit things, you can adjust things. And that is really the beauty of a well functioning client portal because we know that as wedding professionals, things are constantly changing for us and for our clients. And having the opportunity to give them the most up to date information, I think, is one of the core ways we can offer a superior client experience. Um, and then the other part of this for me is that I don't know everything. My client portal may not be the best one in the industry. And I hope this is a great foundation for you guys if you don't have one or yours doesn't feel robust. And if I don't mention something that you have in yours, we would absolutely love for you to come over to YouTube or Instagram and comment under our video and let us know, like, hey, loved this episode. One of the things I have that you didn't mention is this, and it has saved us, XYZ things or time or money or whatever, because that's how we're all going to get better is by sharing ideas. So that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so for the sake of my brain, because this is how my brain works, is it possible for us to for you to break down these tips and share things like in the order that they happen through the planning process? Like, when are you granting access to the portal? Is it immediately stocked with what? And when are you dropping things in accordingly throughout the planning process?
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So the client portal is created automatically. Okay, let me back up one more. Well, let me actually back up two more steps. If you don't have a client portal or you don't know what that means, essentially, that is a secure location for your couples to log into online or through an app that has everything they need to know about when it comes to planning and being a couple at your venue during their engagement and planning period. I will reference Dubsado in this episode because Dubsado is the CRM system that I use. I pay $20 a month for it. And with that CRM system comes a client portal function. So that's the great news that I definitely want to make a point on is that if this is not a separate thing from Dubsado, I did not have to personally create the structure or the code, right, of this client portal. It all comes with the CRM. It's one of the reasons I chose Dubsado. And all of the internal tools like click here to create the client's portal, click here if you want them to have a password, and then here's where you add all of your documents. Now, what I did have to create on the back end, and this is something that's really important, is all of the documentation in the portal. You
Yeah.
do have to create all of that. It doesn't just happen. So, everything I'm going to share with you, I did have to spend hours and hours and hours on creating. But then once it's created, it's beautiful, right? It's like any digital product. You create once and use many.
Hmm.
So, because they're all static documents that all of our couples get.
Yeah.
So, now that we have that out of the way, here's how the flow of our client portal works. First things first, the client portal is created when I create the couple as a job in Dubsado. So it's all part of my creating the couple's job workflow. So Lindsay and Dane tell me they want to get married at Vista View Events. Amazing. I have a whole workflow for that. And that's where I go into Dubsado. I create their personal client file. So it's Lindsay and Dane. I add their contract. I customize, I turn on their client portal toggle. Super easy. And then once I turn on that toggle, in Dubsado, you can do this one of two ways, and I've done both. On one hand, for many years, I just knew the documents that I needed to put in there. And so I go over to the client portal and I manually add them one by one. I just put them in there. It takes probably 2 minutes. It's very fast, right? Because the documents are already created. Now, what I do, because I got smart over the last couple of years, is not that smart. Don't get excited, guys. But now, what I do, and this is actually a Dubsado thing, is once you create a certain package, you can actually tell Dubsado, then turn on their client portal and add all of these documents automatically.
Nice.
So lots of people have that. I'm sure HoneyBook has something like that too. So that's what I do now. And what's cool in Dubsado, don't quote me on this. I think this is true. I do believe that you can do that based on the type of package. So pretty much all of my weddings are full day weddings. And even if they're half day weddings, they still get the same documentation. But
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure you could create that trigger to say, if I add a Saturday elopement, it adds these documents. If I add a Sunday full day wedding, it adds these documents, which is phenomenal. So that is something that Kinsey, the human being, is doing. Once Lindsay and Dane have told me they want to be a couple, great. That's all back end stuff. The client never sees me doing that work. Now, once then I shoot off their email. Dubsado does this for me automatically with all of their, like, here's your contract. We're so excited to have you. Here's your invoice. Here's the steps you're going to take in order to, make your date official. And then once you've done that, we are going to schedule your onboarding call. So here's the key. At Vista View Events, my in-house coordinator does an onboarding call for about 20 or 30 minutes with every single couple. And during that call, she does a screen share where she logs into their client portal for the first time and shows them every single document that's in there. So
Nice.
that's the first time our couples are seeing it, and they're
Mhm.
seeing it one-on-one with a real person. We have my coordinator and I have both really found it, because we've done both. We have really found it advantageous to do this. It's on Zoom for us, but you know what I'm saying, in
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
one-on-one with them, instead of just saying, here's a link to your client portal, here's all the stuff, good luck.
Mhm.
Because she opens up each document and shares what it is. She also shares how to navigate the client portal. These are the titles across the top. This is where you're going to see your bill. This is where you're going to see how many payments you have left. This is where you're going to see your contracts. And then the client portal piece, in addition to that, which truly makes us probably one of the most organized vendors that couples work with, is all of the documents that I've personally created that makes their planning life easier. And incredibly importantly, for venue owners, it makes our life easier. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff that they are planning. It is not the couple's job to be the most organized. If you give them the tools to just give you the information that you need, they will,
Yeah.
especially if you show them how to do it, which we do at the onboarding call. So then to your question is, okay, what happens after that? What is in the client portal as of the onboarding call? Almost everything that they need. So I don't gatekeep anything except for the final offboarding of thank you so much. And here's your review request, because that's not going to be in there at the beginning, right? And
Sure.
that's actually not part of the client portal. That's part of an automated email sequence that also lives in Dubsado, incidentally. However, what is in the client portal that makes us so organized? What is my coordinator actually showing them? And there's a couple of things. There's quite a few. Within their venue agreement, there are multiple things they are agreeing to contractually when they become a Vista View Events couple. And
Mhm.
then those things are reflected in the documents I give them to fill out in their client portal throughout their engagement period. And each document has its own due date. So, for instance, I don't need your bar information, as in your bar agreement and the package that you chose, until 30 days before your wedding, because I need
Mhm.
your final guest count and all of that. However, I do require you to fill out your vendor list as you go, because I want to make sure you're hiring the appropriate required professional
Mhm.
vendors. So, going back to the contract, within our contract, there's a few things, and you guys can take notes of these. And I'm sure a lot of you require this kind of stuff as well. So, first things first, I require them to hire an exclusive coordinator, the one I was talking about. They have to hire an exclusive coordinator because she's the only one that we work with. So, that's a spot that they read and initial in their contract. The
Mhm.
documentation that's in the client portal that mirrors that contractual requirement is their pre wedding walkthrough document that Chelsea, my coordinator, created, which is the document that the couple goes in, they fill out the whole thing, and that is the basis for their final walkthrough meeting that we have 30 days before the wedding. So that's the first thing. So we're not chasing them around 10, 100 emails. What's your final guest count? Where do you want to have your ceremony, the patio or the field? What color do you think you want your napkins to be? Like, what time do you want your ceremony to be? It can be at 4 p.m. or later. We don't have 100 emails hanging out with all of those details. All of that information is required to be filled out in her pre-wedding walkthrough document by the time they come to the final walkthrough. So that's document number one. Second document, and these are not in order of the way they fill them out. I'm actually thinking of my contract, like what order that's in. And one of the first things I say is like, you're required to hire this coordinator.
Yeah.
Second thing that we have that they fill out and that is also that's mirrored in the client portal is their special event insurance. So we require special event insurance. They get it from a third party company. I require a certain amount, like $1 million liability, host liquor liability, that sort of thing. And so that is directly mirrored onto this document in their client portal. It has a due date of 30 days before the wedding minimum, or they can give it to me anytime once they know their wedding date with the venue. And then the requirements are in the contract, but they're also mirrored on that document. So they don't have to toggle back and forth, right? This is about client experience. This is a big deal. They're not going to remember what you said on the onboarding call. So
Right.
even though it's in the contract and we go over it on the onboarding call, the third place it is, aside from my website, right? So I guess the fourth place is everything is restated and regurgitated on the actual document. So that special event insurance document is here's everything you need. We recommend getting it from one of these three places. Here's the bullet points. Here's our address, our phone number, all this stuff you're going to have to put on there. And then at the bottom is an attached document form. So all they have to do is upload their PDF, click submit, and I automatically get the notification that Lindsay and Dane submitted their special event insurance.
Nice. That's
Yes.
awesome.
The third thing that they need to do is the vendor list, which I mentioned. So, vendor list is a fancy way of saying, I want to know who you're hiring to come and work here. Now, if you are more of a DIY venue and you allow DIY vendors, non-professionals, et cetera, this may not be as big of a deal to you. Although I would actually encourage you to have one of these anyway, because it's a great way for you to build relationships with these vendors or with these people. It's a wonderful, vendor client experience for you to gather all of their contact information, even if it's more of a DIY situation than my venue is. And you can just email them and say, "Hi, my name is Kinsey. I see that you're coming to Lindsay and Dane's wedding. I just wanted to send you, information about the day." And you can give them load in time, load out time, directions, etc. And it creates that personal connection. And I'd
Mhm.
actually argue that that is one of the things that could make a DIY wedding a little more sustainable for you because now you are having communication with DIY vendors. So,
Yeah. Well, and another reason, sorry to interrupt
no,
you.
don't, please.
One reason we do the exact same thing based on our clients. So our clients are rural startup venues. They're newbies. And when we go in and we stock their CRM system for them, one of the things that we put in there is a vendor questionnaire.
Yes.
And we are coaching our clients that it's great for all of the reasons that you've already mentioned, right? Like you're collecting all of the information, you know, who's coming onto your property. You're able to send out a mass email to all of the vendors for that wedding weekend. Here are our policies and procedures. Here's where our like vendor box truck parking area is, like all the things that vendors need to know. But you're also collecting COIs from them as well. And another big reason is for later, like 6 to 8 weeks after the wedding has even finished, you have all of their Instagram and social media handles as well to be able to cross promote each other and grow each other's reach organically.
Yes, absolutely, Lindsay. So real quick, guys, COI is certificate of insurance,
Yes,
in
thank you.
case you didn't know that. Nope, that's okay. That's such a good point. So one of the columns, it's not just for me to say like Lindsay's planning company is coming. That's great. I want to
Mhm.
see the business. All of our columns are the business name, the name of the actual person coming, their phone number, their Instagram handle, and their email. And that is exactly why, because of course we want to give proper credit always whenever we're publishing weddings. And that's an amazing way to do it. The other thing for us that is important is that we have a lot of DIY elements and we love a DIY bride, but I have certain vendor requirements that truly I just in my opinion really make weddings more sustainable for us and the couples. And so we require almost all professional vendors. Um, And that's part of their contract. And that's another way for the client portal and the vendor list to mirror that contract. Because on that document in their client portal or my client portal, it says, like, just a reminder, we require all professional vendors. And if they're not already on Kinsey's list, like, she has to approve them. So please reach out to her via email here. So again, multiple touch points with your clients is good service and hospitality, I think. And then
Mhm.
it also, just a quick little tidbit here. I had a client recently who let me know, we got on a call and I said, how was your weekend? And she was like, it was great. We had kind of an iffy wedding because she told me that she had all of these professional vendors, or she said she, had all these things and she didn't end up having those things. And it was just pretty tough. Like, communication was hard and it was tough. It was a tough wedding. And I completely understand that for sure. Like, you are not alone. And I said, "Oh, well, how did you figure out her wedding? Basically what I said kindly was, how did you not know this
Mhm.
by the wedding day?" And it's because she doesn't have like a vendor list in her client portal. She doesn't have a vendor list that she can go over at the final walkthrough to say, "Hey, we need to make sure this is completed. Who's your caterer? What's their contact information? Who's your photographer, videographer, wedding planner, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera," to get all of that contact information. And then to backslide on that, the reason you can require all of that information is that it's in your contract.
Yeah.
So that is what we do. So I just want to keep kind of harping on that, is that I don't just give people a client portal and just say, here's a bunch of stuff you can fill out if you want to. It's all mirroring contractual requirements that they have agreed to
Mhm.
already in their venue agreement. All of these sections have been initialed. The whole contract is signed at the end. And then basically I have mirrored all of that stuff in the client portal. So vendor list can be a huge thing to, like Lindsay said, be able to tag all of those vendors, follow up with them 6 to 8 weeks later, make sure that the couples are hiring who they say they're hiring. It's just multiple checkpoints for you to, again, provide that hospitality and that kind of warm service that our couples deserve. Um, the next thing that I have in there, and this may not be applicable to you guys, but we have in-house decor. And in-house decor is something that we finalize at their final walkthrough. But of course, I want them to be able to visualize and imagine. And so my coordinator is amazing. She went in and created a visual with photos decor checklist where they can check as much or as little as they want, or they can say maybe. And we finalize all of that at the final walkthrough. So it's not just I know they said they had decor, but I don't know what it is. They know, they always have access to it. We can update it because sometimes stuff breaks, sometimes I get more. So this is one of those things, right? Your client portal can be like a living document. I can update it anytime I want to. And for them, it's also a living document. It's not like if you check this box, you are locked into this table number. It is hey, I'm interested in this color, but also this color, we'll decide later. So that is another thing that we have. Again, putting all of this in place before we get to the final walkthrough so that when we get there, we just have Chelsea and I have an incredibly systematized meeting where it's like, we're just going to go through this document starting at the beginning of your day and ending with your grand exit. And that way they can start to conceptualize how the day looks.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, decor sheet. What's the next one that we have? Vendor list, special event insurance, pre-walkthrough, decor. What else did I say? Oh my gosh, big one. So I have an in-house liquor license. And wow, 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 wow. I have an in-house liquor license. So all bar and beverage service for alcoholic beverages and mocktails comes from the venue. And this is a big one that is in the client portal. Of course, it's contractual, but then my bar agreement is a separate agreement from my venue agreement, as is my menu selections. So not only do they have to sign the agreement and tell me, we're thinking about the house full bar package, we agree to all of your bar rules, they will go to the next document that says, amazing, click here for the house full bar package and now pick all of your beer and wine and let me know if you're adding any signature drinks. Let me know if you're adding a champagne toast. These are all questions on the document, right?
Mhm.
Are you adding sig drinks? Are you adding a champagne toast? Tell me what beer you want. Tell me the whites. Tell me the reds. All of that lives in the client portal. So then that way, once they fill all of that out, it is actually talking to a spreadsheet via Zapier and filling in those selections, because the spreadsheet is what I use to
Mhm.
go and stock their bar. Um, let's see, a spreadsheet on Google Drive. So pretty real simple stuff. But yeah, that's what they use for our bar. So that's a big one. What is another one? Signature drink ideas is also in there. So I do a list of signature drinks are still popular as we record this. So I do a whole list of signature drink ideas. There is a blank floor plan. 2D floor plan of my venue also in there so that they can print as many copies as they want to. They still love to do this. I don't know. They're like, hey, they like to draw it out with their mom whenever they're talking about their wedding. So they have a blank copy of my floor plan so they can play with that. I should log into Dubsado. I think that's everything, Lindsay. We have so much aside from, so this is a client. I'm literally logging into Dubsado, you guys. So if you're watching me on
I
YouTube,
have a
and
question while you're
doing
logging in.
together. Yeah, keep going.
Okay, so a lot of the things that you have mentioned, we do something similar for our clients. We build out
Yep.
a client welcome magazine, right?
Mhm.
We're also building out within their chosen CRM, like setting up portals, and we're coaching them on how to do that and everything. But all of like just the singular documents, like the blank floor plan and decor inventory and stuff, that lives in their client welcome magazine. I'm curious. The big reason that we put together a client welcome magazine for them is like that's the holy grail of all of the information that their couples need to know when they're getting married at that venue, right?
Yeah.
But the main reason why we do it, number one, client experience, it helps the couples, right? But number two, it saves the venue so many hours of time in their inbox because every time that a client emails them and is like, hey, do you have a blank floor plan that I can just like doodle and sketch and like get some stuff out of my head? Yeah, we sure do. Go and check on page 7 of your client welcome magazine. Hey, I was just wondering, I was talking to my cousin this weekend who was visiting from out of town, and they brought up a good question about the bar. Do you have X, Y, and Z? Yes, you can find all of our bar information on page 12 of our client welcome magazine. And what we're instructing our clients to do in those scenarios is condition their couples to go to the client welcome magazine first rather than just firing off an email, right? And
Mhm.
taking up precious time that either you as the owner operator are doing and responding to in your own inbox or you're paying a venue manager to do, right? And so
Mhm.
usually what we have found is that usually it takes about that third email of you referencing that client welcome magazine for it to like finally click, right? And be like, okay, instead of just emailing, all she's going to do is tell me to go look at the client welcome magazine, so I'm just going to go do that first, right?
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing with the portal?
I do the same thing with the portal. Yeah. So we're saying the same thing. We're just using two different tools.
Yeah,
We replaced a client welcome magazine with the portal. So
gotcha.
then, yep. So that way, that's why we do an onboarding call, is so that our onboarding calls, and that's the other thing. We wanted to cut down time on those onboarding calls because we had a magazine. It was quite large. Onboarding calls were taking forever because again, we realized one-on-one showing them what this is. So then we were going through, almost every page,
Yeah.
which I still think is great. I mean, some people need that. And
Hmm.
again, this is the beauty of this. It's like what is going to work for your venue.
Right.
I work in the mid-market, where we have a healthy split between DIY and I have a budget for some stuff, other stuff I'm going to DIY. So we're super healthy in the mid-market, which is great. So for us, we're not holding their hand quite as much as like a luxury venue or someone who has a full planner who wants to see a 50-page magazine and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, that's just us. So we have basically drawn all of that out and put it in the client portal in separate documents. And then so what we're talking about on the onboarding call is everything you need lives in here, and each action is listed on the document. So
Mhm.
it's not just a static thing for you to read. You have stuff to do in here.
Yeah.
And I think what has helped with that is them accessing it,
Yeah.
and getting on video and telling them about it. Is they're like, oh, we've got stuff we've got to write in there. It's not just like and if you want it, here's my floor plan. It's
Right.
like, hey, we create your floor plan for you at your final walkthrough. So if you have any feedback about it, here's a blank one that you can start playing with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, phenomenal. So that, like I say, we're saying the same thing. I still
Yeah.
have clients who also use a magazine and they'll always use it because it works so well. Like it's such a good converter for them. And we just use a client portal, 6 one way, half dozen the other. And I think I'm glad we have both options.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Totally.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing all of that. Are there any final like wrap up thoughts that you have?
The only wrap up thought I was thinking was when I told you that the only thing that doesn't live in there is my review. Well, there's a few things that does, a couple things that don't live in there, but it's not client portal stuff. It's reminders, planning information. And I just wanted to make a quick distinction and let you guys know that that is still living in Dubsado, but those are all email funnels that I have also created.
Mhm.
So just real quick, if you're thinking like, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about this? Yes, of course, we have a ton of email funnels going out for reminders, fill this out, pay this, do that. How can we help you? How can we serve you? Leave us a review, all of those things. But those are different than the client portal, right? Because we don't want to just throw up 50 documents
Mhm.
and have like a review request form in our client portal on day
Yeah.
one.
Right.
So just keep in mind the difference between what is going to help them plan their wedding and what should actually be in an automated funnel in Dubsado that you're dripping out at the right time. Those are
Yeah.
to us two different things.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah,
There's a time and a place for things to be utilized within a CRM system for sure.
totally. Yeah, I agree. Thank you so much for letting me talk about this. You guys, like I said, if you have something in your client portal that has just been crushing it for you, leave a comment on this video. Come over and talk to us. We are at Your Venue Experts on Instagram. We would love to chat with you. We love a solid client portal, and I'm always looking to add stuff that's going to be helpful for my own clients. So, would love to hear from you. As always, I am Kinsey Roberts.
And I'm Lindsay Lucas. Together we are the Venue Podcast. See you next time, guys. Bye.